Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome Kuda to the podium.
It's quite, we're living in interesting times, right? One of our own, proudly South African, we have to claim him. He has been making waves with AI. I think you saw the RoboVan, the humanoid robot having conversations with people, and it's quite exciting, right? We have to claim him. I actually used to braai with him when he was still in South Africa. There he is, proudly South African, and quite recently, ChatGPT was tested and it passed the Turing test. What it means is people could actually converse with it and think that they're conversing with a human being. So AI is actually advancing to the extent of almost simulating human reasoning, to the point of almost reaching what we call technology singularity, which I'll explain later on. One of the things that we see happening quite a lot is the complexity of cybersecurity itself, right? The challenges, the volumes of information that we have to do with the cybersecurity experts, the volumes of incidents, the number of cyber attacks, the sophistication of cyber attacks that are coming through. I mean, quite a number of organizations being hit by ransomware, right, from different angles. Right now, people are busy communicating, tweeting, or Xing, right, on as well, being on Instagram, social media, connecting to the organization network, right? So the entry points or the number of attack vectors that a can go into your network are varied. And the what are called logic bombs, where the attackers can actually sit in your network silently studying you for a number of years actually, waiting to strike, right? So it's so difficult, and most of the detective systems or the monitoring systems in your network might not be able to identify such on time, right? And they can actually be sitting there, there are even cases where the bad actors bring in, join an organization, they apply for a vacancy, they sit inside for a number of years, waiting to attack, studying the network, being part of your team, right? Assessing certain things, right? Manipulating systems, changing things along the way, and they're just waiting for a particular day to strike, right? So what I'm trying to say is it's so difficult for us as human beings, even for the system that we have, to timely detect these attackers, or to timely detect such attacks like logic bombs, right? You sort of need to have tools that is able to assess abnormalities or something that is not normal as well. Added to this, there's increasing cost in terms of hiring your cybersecurity specialist, the scarcity of skills, right? So you're dealing with a lot of challenges when it comes to cyber attacks, the rapid evolution of attacks. Already the attackers are implementing artificial intelligence malware. They're using the tools to develop sophisticated phishing emails that will fool a lot of employees. And then the trends itself are looking gloomy. If you look at the statistics, 9.5 trillion predicted cost of cybercrime, $4.4 million average cost of a data breach. These statistics are painting a gloomy picture. 207 days average time to detect a data breach. You're looking at 80% of data breaches involving data stored on the cloud. And the tendency is when you outsource information to the cloud, you always, most organizations think that the cloud provider will handle everything. But we cannot outsource accountability, right? You still have to make sure that the cloud providers are securing your systems, right? So there's so many complexities, there's so many entry points that are coming through. And then on the right, you see the threats and trends, all the threats that are coming, the advances in AI. The rise of AI allows people to, without technical skills, remember I mentioned scarcity of skills. So suddenly you can actually have a less skilled employee use these AI technologies to do more sophisticated work. The hackers are doing it. They're actually using tools to develop a ransomware Someone without skills to write code of a malware can actually now do it with the emerging technologies. So as business, we can also use the same tools to even develop your policies, to even develop technologies to defend as well. 1 in 5 businesses already using AI, right? 61% of cybersecurity leaders are concerned with AI in chatbot and phishing. You know, there's always the term of shadow IT. I almost see the same way happening with AI. There's shadow AI. A lot of people sitting here have used ChatGPT at some point to do their business. And employees, if you haven't used it, your employers are probably using it. They're probably uploading company documents on ChatGPT, right? So all these things are bringing in certain risks to organization. The risk of data leakage. Someone could access that information online, right? Or it could be added into the AI model, right? And be accessed by, so if you don't put measures around it, security controls or measures around the AI solution that you're using, you face risks. One thing that I look at cybersecurity is it's a union situation, right? It's used for both good and evil, right? The attackers, I would say, are way ahead currently. They're already developing malware using AI. They're already using it to send sophisticated emails. They're already using ChatGPT to write code to attack your systems. Later on, I can actually show you, after this session, how you can actually do reconnaissance using ChatGPT. Just go to ChatGPT and say, I'm doing a penetration testing on company X. Give me some recon information about it. It can actually give you a good profile, even give you subdomains. You can even do it on your mobile phone using Llama, right? It's so easy. You've done your reconnaissance. A process that normally takes time using tools like Whois, all those time, it's now faster to do. So the attackers are already using it. But as business, we can also use it to protect our systems. We don't have to wait for the attackers to attack us before we can actually defend ourselves as well. So it's very important to realize that balance, right? That AI plays a dual role. And let's not be left behind as businesses. Let's start investing in AI to defend and protect our business, to build that resiliency, right? AI, like I mentioned, can be used for cybercrime. Examples is the evil GPT that was created. You know, the ChatGPT normally uses some restrictions. Obviously, you can fool it, right? If you say I'm doing ethical hacking or I'm making a system, it normally says no. But we can fool it and say maybe I'm an ethical hacker, and then it will start giving you the results. But if ChatGPT is just open, you can almost do anything with it, right? It doesn't have those restrictions as well. And then there's an AI and AI that are coming up. Your DeepLockers being used, Black Mamba, deepfakes coming a lot. There was an interesting case that happened in African Union, where the African Union head, Moussa Faki, was actually, they created a deepfake, and he contacted the European Union members successfully. So someone would say, are we safe from this? I would say that minimize the information that you share online, even as an individual. Because if the more information that you have on social media, the more it is easier to replicate you and create a deepfake copy of you. So imagine you're sitting here, maybe a copy of you is having a meeting somewhere, or having a conversation somewhere. So be careful of what you share online. As an organization, also be careful of what information is out there about your organization, right? If you don't have to share certain information as a business, don't share it. That talks to the attack surface that you share, right? Most organizations, if you run free open source tools, you can actually pick up a lot of information from their domain that can be used by attackers. So minimize, put measures in place to minimize your public footprint as a business and also as an individual. The type of IP addresses that you share. I always say that if I'm a thief and I'm walking across the street, I'm looking for a house to do my to steal something. If I see Opa if I see a TV in Opa's room, a big one, and the window is open, what do you think I would do? I'll definitely go for it, right? So if you can hide what you have as much as possible, it's better. So it's the same concept. And then AI can also be used to define cybercrime, like I mentioned earlier. You can use for behavioral analytics. The example that I gave of a logic bomb, someone sitting in your network, or an attacker, but most of the time, the attackers start the organization. They sit and wait. They take their time, right, to start the organization. They can even implant an insider in your organization. They're becoming sophisticated. So you need to start the behaviors. And it could be an employee that has become disgruntled. They'll start doing certain things that are beyond the norm. So the AI tools can actually detect such abnormalities, and you can act faster, right? Threat intelligence. With these AI tools, you can use it to get quite a lot of threat intelligence as well. Endpoint protection, incident response, automation. You can actually automate your incident response using AI tools. There are quite a number of tools that are coming up that have embedded artificial intelligence in them as well. Fraud detection. Cybersecurity skills. You could actually augment your skill set using AI. One of the things that, my colleague VJ, Anton Alfred will attest to that, even Dr. Sylvia. Techies don't want to document policies and procedures. I was chatting with one of our lawyers, Lucien, right, to say there are regulations that are coming up. Your joint standard, effective on the 15th of November, on IT governance and risk management, which says organizations have to define your strategies, your cyber strategies. And techies don't want to define those. You can use artificial intelligence to help you develop or document these policies, right? So there's quite a number of benefits that you can use it to comply. If you don't have those, the PA comes from the 15th and you face which fines. Your POPIA as well, your data privacy laws, you need to have documents. One of the things that is very key is to realize that AI systems, like any other systems, can be targeted. So if you don't secure them, you can be in trouble. You can rely on an AI solution that can give you wrong results. Imagine you have acquired an AI solution to help you detect threats in your organization, and it's being manipulated. But the same makers could actually hack the AI system, and then it suddenly gives you the wrong results. So you have to make sure that you make sure that the AI model is robust, is secured. Secure it the same way you secure your systems in your network. And realize that if you are using an AI system that is on the cloud, be careful what sort of information goes there. Remember the data leakage I spoke about. Employees are doing some shadow AI already. In fact, most people here have used ChatGPT, right? What information is reloaded? We have AI policies. You have controls to restrict what sort of information can go online. You have a local copy of the AI that you can actually tailor and put restrictive controls to minimize the type of information that goes out. Build governance around it, policies and procedures around it. You have regular audits, just like any other systems, regular assessment of AI systems. Because they can also be poisoned and manipulated as well. In conclusion, I basically say, while AI is an asset in defending against cybercrime, it is also a powerful tool for attackers. AI is a double-edged sword. However, the need is tilted towards the attackers. The attackers are ahead currently, right? AI is a force of good and evil, the yin-yang situation I showed you. The bad guys have embraced it and started using it already. Business needs to invest in AI tools and skills. I always say that there's a tendency that business tend to lag behind with technology, right? We tend to be reactive rather than being proactive. The AI wave is already here. My colleague, Elon Musk, is already having humanoid robots walking around. How many organizations have AI policies and strategies? Because if you don't embrace it, the other business, your competitors will embrace it. If as cybersecurity professionals, you don't embrace AI, Other organizations saying, what? We embrace it. And they'll be able to better build trust and security of their systems while yours is exposed. So do you want your competitors to have more trusted systems, more secure systems, more agile systems than you? So it's very important to invest in these AI technologies, build the skills, the resources, build capacity in a team. Realizing that the number of attacks that are coming are increasing. They said that a day, over 300,000 malware are being created. So as we're sitting here, as I'm presenting here, probably someone is sitting writing a malware. And now they don't have to write code. They can use the AI tools to write the code, right? The malware. So it's very important to realize that. And as businesses, to bring this together, right? So my call to action is invest in AI-driven cybersecurity tools and then enhance AI governance to stay ahead in evolving cyber threat landscape. Secure your own AI systems, because they can also be hacked. Protect them. Limit how much information your employees can load on these systems. Update your policies to address the emerging technologies. Invest in AI skills and knowledge. I'm going to hand over to another proudly South African tool developer, founder, Nithen Naidoo, to take us through an example of an AI simulation. Thank you.
Hi, Kuda. Thank you so much for that. Hi, everybody. We promised to let you know where I am. I'm in Southeast Asia at the moment. Proudly flying the South African flag on this side and taking our South African innovation and cybersecurity community and thought leadership around the world, and which is a massive honor for us. We've been fortunate. We've got we're the proud holders of our South African Innovation Award, and I got an Innovation Award this year from the president, largely because of our early adoption of machine learning and AI at a very early stage in the cybersecurity landscape. And so today, what we're going to talk about is one of our newer applications of AI, which allows us to take a look at attacks in real time using digital twin technology. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is where the idea originated from. My mom always told me, you never learn anything watching TV. So I'm watching Mr. Robot. And there's this part where Elliot's in this alternate universe, and he's the CEO of AltSafe, which is like a cybersecurity company. And he's speaking to this guy, and he tells him, I've seen you get hacked. And the client gets super excited and is like, what? I got hacked? It's like, no. I've seen you get hacked. You're fine, right? It's right. I ran a couple of simulations and I've seen how you will get hacked. I was like, wait a minute, that's kind of brilliant, right? It's like, sure, simulation exists, but there's some shortcomings in simulation. Could you use AI, digital twin technology, and could I build a digital replica of your network environment? And could I run attacks on that? And could I give you both in terms of a technology platform that you could embed within your security architecture and an assessment tool? Could I give you a cyber threat exposure kind of view, which uses both asset intelligence, threat intelligence, vulnerability intelligence that's been produced real time all over the world, and applies it onto your network to help you understand and prioritize where you need to remediate and bring your attention. And it's just this is the problem, right? Cybersecurity is so asymmetric. So when we take a look at it, I just want to make sure, can you guys see the slides? Perfect. Okay. So the problem is we've got, if we can pop on to the next slide, guys. So the problem is now it's 3 o'clock in the morning, right? I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking to myself, hey, I've got this idea, and I go and I start taking a look at a client. And the client has, sorry guys, can we go to the next slide? And I take a look at the client, and you can see there at the bottom, the client's got something like 78. This is on the Snowd platform, etc. And if I go and I take a look on the next slide, I take a look at the active threats. Just, ironically, it's also 78 active threats that are actively attacking the client, right? This is why I say it's so asymmetric in terms of the amount of threats you face and the amount of data. Now, one of the reasons we built Snowd was because the amount of alert data you would get normally was cognitive overload. So we were looking for less head of security for a large organization. Some of you may be dealing with thousands of vulnerabilities, right? Or tens of thousands of vulnerabilities. The question my clients ask me the most often is, so what and now what? When I leave the session, what is the first thing I need to fix? And it's a brilliant, brilliant question. Problem is prioritization of these issues, because I can't fix all 1,000, or I can't, it's Saturday, it's 3 a.m. What do I do with these 78 vulnerabilities? What do I do with the 78 threats? And are they all created equal? And one of the problems is that vulnerabilities don't have the context of the threats. And the threat detection doesn't have the context of the vulnerabilities. None of them understand the assets, right? So think about it this way. Robber's not going to go into the bank, and try and rob the bank and ask the teller for the jewelry, any less than you're going to break into a jewelry store and ask for the cash in the register, right? You need to understand the context, the value of the asset you're protecting in accordance to the control landscape. You need to understand whether there's an active threat that is exploiting this vulnerability, whether the vulnerability is exploitable in the first place. And you need to understand the impact, right? What will the impact be to your business? So too many active threats, too many vulnerabilities. And if we can go to the next slide, and this is where simulation comes in, right? But now you got physical simulation, right? That's like a pen test, right? I can go and do a red team exercise. I can go break in and all of those things. And that's great. Really high fidelity, but it's kind of point in time, right? And you've got to go, you have a pen test at a particular point in time, and it covers a certain, and then it only covers the assets you know about, or the scope you provide to it. There are a few shortcomings, right? Of course, you can have emulation. And emulation is like what we have in a lab, where we take a piece of malware, we explode it in the lab, we see what it does, and then we get Snowd to be able to defend against it. Sure, but that's pretty expensive, right? Especially when you want to emulate a mining environment or a banking environment or a national power grid, right? And then you get modeling, like threat modeling, attack trees, which a large part of the audience will be familiar with. The problem with that is the risk is in the eye of the beholder, firstly, right? So if I get a penetration tester, he's going to tell me, oh yeah, you've got these SQL vulnerabilities. But if I get a GRC specialist, they're going to tell me, oh, well, you've got these public compliance issues. So number one, it's largely biased based on my background and my education and my knowledge. And it's not as data driven. It's still really, really good, but it's a desktop exercise. It takes time. Takes human input, it takes a lot of involvement, and again, it's point in time. Thing is, can I increase the fidelity of a desktop exercise, like a threat model or the building of attack trees? And could I do this so that I could run hundreds, possibly thousands of simulations in real time, all at the same time, using artificial intelligence? This is exactly what we did. So the first thing I want to show you is exactly how we did it. And if you go to the next slide, we'll just get an idea of the process. So we're getting all this threat intelligence reports, right? We found out that 48's got this vulnerability, and it's been exploited for a few days before the vulnerability, before the patch was available. That's now an example of threat intelligence, right? Now I'm getting the vulnerability intelligence. I'm finding out, hey, actually, I've got these kind of devices on my network, right? And I'm running this vulnerable, and then I get the asset intelligence, right? Okay, so some of these are OT firewalls, some of these are data center firewalls, some of these might be my corporate network, for example. And now, but imagine if you're getting this for everything in real time. And the exact second that that happens, what happens is the simulations run on your environment, and it tells you, like, okay, we've got this active threat. We've got these connections that have come in from Southeast Asia, where I am now. We've got these active connections that came in from Southeast Asia. We don't know these IPs, etc. They're associated to a threat actor. We think this is potentially something that's happening now or could be happening now. And this is how we see the attack. And this is what we see the potential impact. But it's performing this on the digital twin as a preemptive mechanism to help you design a defensive posture and respond proactively. So if you go to the next slide and I'll show you what this data flow looks like. There's basically three parts of this, right? First, we need to understand the attacker's tradecraft. We need to map our existing vulnerabilities. We need to then generate these attack paths of the actual attacker moving through. And then we need to prioritize. We need to identify that one place where we can fix something which completely kills or breaks the attacker's kill chain. And then we need to regenerate the simulation, because threat intelligence is a moving goalpost. Vulnerability intelligence is a moving goalpost. Our assets are a moving goalpost. People are bringing phones. Suddenly there's new IoT devices coming out. There's new cloud platforms that get launched, etc. And it's hard to keep track with this heterogeneous architecture, right? So in the next slide, I'll show you a data flow of how we did this. We basically built three machines. One is a machine learning engine. This is the engine that correlates. It tells you, hey, there's a FortiGate issue. You're running a FortiGate firewall, and the versions that are exploitable in the version you have. That's what we call correlation. Co-occurrence would be, hey, listen, this thing was active 9 days before the patch was released, at least, right? And at the same time, during those 9 days, we had all these incidents that happened, and these are concerns for us, right? Then there's an expert engine. The expert engine tells us things like, hey, look, these are the threat actors that we know are exploiting the issue, right? It's APT this, APT that, and this is the modus operandi. They'll come in through the firewall, the edge device, and they'll go after the Active Directory, and they'll compromise our domain. And then from our domain, they will look for potential targets based on our business. So let's just say we're a power grid. They're going to go look for our OT, and now we know our OT has the same sort of issue. So that's the expert engine. And then we have the AI. So the AI predicts and draws this attack path, right, from origination or initial attack vector, right through lateral movement, all through exploitation, all through like impact, and the outages, the power going down, potential for cyber espionage, or all of those kinds of things. And then it feeds back into the system. It alerts you proactively, and it says, this is the one thing you need to do. And this is the one thing you need to care about. This is the one thing you need to remediate, right? If you do this, we break this entire kill chain, and none of this stuff is possible. If we go to the last slide, because you can't always imagine that you're going to be able to fix the FortiGate. For 9 days before the vulnerability came out, it was being exploited. You couldn't fix it. The only thing you could do is shut down your firewall. Now that doesn't make sense either. So now I'm going to just show you a quick demonstration of what the platform looks like. And the first thing you're going to see is your network, but it's being modeled, right, by the AI. So this is a digital twin. Each of these little dots here, they actually describe and show you a particular asset you have. And you can see that's a firewall, right? And you can see all the data moving in the simulation from the firewall from internet systems, and it's moving through. Now the colors are telling us, okay, which of these systems are vulnerable, which of these systems are actually exploitable from this point of the firewall, right? And you can see they're all vulnerable, but some are like faded red and some are like bright red. Now the problem with the bright red one is that is the one that's actually exploitable. And that is the one that's exploitable to the point that it's risk exposure, it's connected its connection attributes actually allow it to compromise a critical asset that can result in reputational harm, financial loss, outages that could affect everything from your bottom line, your brand, or national security, right? Sovereign security, like disabling our power grid. And this kind of capability runs hundreds and thousands of simulations in real time. To be honest, we can probably run about, I think, a few hundred in 30 minutes. And we run a few hundreds, and suddenly now we can tell you of those 78 vulnerabilities and of those 78 threats, this is why you should be concerned about it, and this is the thing you should fix. And that's most important to disable or to protect yourself. So we're really taking that information cognitive overload of what you would see with vulnerabilities and with threats, and we're helping you prioritize and understand your actions predictively and proactively. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I am just about left a couple of minutes for Kuda and me to answer a couple of questions. I hope you all enjoyed the presentation. Kuda, you want to join me back on stage, and maybe we can just do a quick Q&A?
It was well received. Thanks for that. A round of applause for thank you.